CarolinaPrepper.com. If you're looking for quality food storage for hiking, fishing, hunting, basic survival needs, or just for everyday use, check out our food storage line at CarolinaPrepper.com. We also carry other fine quality products, such as our Can-Can concealment holsters for men and women. Keeping your firearm under cover and within reach puts confidence in your hands in any situation. Our products are 100% American-made. Check us out today at CarolinaPrepper.com.
And now, it's time to Stand for Truth with the host of Stand for Truth Radio, Susan Knowles.
And welcome to the program, everyone. Please check out my website, if you will, at susanknowles.com and all the shows that I do. At Spreaker.com, you can get that either by downloading the Spreaker app onto your phone or just go to Spreaker.com and type in Stand for Truth Radio with Susan Knowles. And there you'll see all the shows that I do, including Knowles on the News and my program I do with my co-host Bill Cloud, God's Views on Political News, which just goes to show you you can discuss religion and politics together, and it all works really well. You can also follow me at my Twitter account at Susan Knowles and on YouTube on my Susan Knowles channel. And you can get me on Periscope at Susan Knowles. And we are also carried on iHeartRadio. Best way to find that is just go to SusanKnowles.com. Look for the big iHeartRadio button. You can't miss it. Click on that, and you'll find me there. And you can follow and listen along to all the shows on there as well. So I'm so glad that you're here today. I am your host, Susan Knowles, and we have a lot to talk about. First, we had some really sad news coming out of Washington State. There was an Amtrak derailment this morning of a train there on what looked to be like an overpass, and part of the trains, at least that you could see, were hanging down from the overhang of the bridge, I think that it was on. And I guess the train came down on a busy interstate down below, which is some of it I know that you couldn't see, and you couldn't see how many cars were down below. So there were 70 people supposedly on that train, and it was a new route that had just opened, and people were trying that out. We don't know yet what happened. This is early in the day, so I'm recording it earlier today, and should find out more information as time goes on. We just pray for those people that we know there are multiple fatalities and multiple injuries, but we hope for the best, something like that. You just hope that everything, that it wasn't any type of a terrorist attack or anything of that nature. There's nothing that's being said yet in the news that would even suggest that that's the case. There were some experts on saying it could possibly have been something in the route itself. But, I mean, it's major, and when you look at something like that, it's horrible to see, and it just shows you once again, and I think people, when they see that, they realize time is very short, time is very precious. So we do wish everybody in Washington State there in DuPont where this accident occurred. Our prayers are with you, our thoughts are with you, and we wish you the best, and we hope that everything comes out as well as can be expected there. But you are in our prayers. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Jeff Sessions, the U.S. Attorney General. For anybody who knows me, you know that I've always supported Jeff Sessions, and I've especially supported his decision to recuse himself. Now, I know a lot of people weren't happy with that, and they're saying, why did he do that? And I've talked about that before. I know it's hard, when you're not an attorney, to understand maybe why he had to do that. See, when you're ethical, which is something that we've been missing in an attorney general for a long time, when you're ethical, you do things that are ethical. And from all that I can see with Jeff Sessions, he's a very ethical individual. You may not like it in some of the things and the way he does it, but he does put an importance on ethics, and that is something that America needs. He told the president, again, during confirmation hearing that if he was asked or told by the DOJ and their legal counsel to recuse himself with all things Russia, that's what he would do. And so the president was aware during the confirmation hearings that was something that Sessions was going to do. And truthfully, looking back in hindsight being 2020, I think the president probably had a good idea that the left was going to ask Sessions to recuse himself if nobody else did. So it would have been a big deal. Trust me, it would have been a big deal by the left if he didn't recuse himself. It also could have gotten himself in trouble with the Bar Association, and he could have potentially lost his license for not heeding the advice of legal counsel. But eventually it could have been trouble in that it could have gone against Donald Trump. Maybe that Sessions would have had to testify against Donald Trump, and that's something that the DOJ does not want to do. So putting that all aside, again, I think he did the right thing. It's certainly nothing that Mueller did. Robert Mueller, the special counsel, when he was appointed with his conflicts of interest, ethically, he should have said, I can't do this because there's a conflict of interest, many of them. But that wasn't the case. And maybe that's, these are the people that we see from the Obama administration and before that, I don't know, in certain ways, maybe they feel that they're above the law. Now, Sessions obviously doesn't feel that way, or at least that's what we, the public, think from what we are being shown. I can't say 100% for sure that Sessions is the person that he claims to be, because nothing in government is usually what it claims to be. So I'll take his word for it for what I'm seeing, that he is ethical, that people like Mueller, in my opinion, did not make an ethical move when he allowed himself to be appointed special counsel when he has so many conflicts of interest. And you've heard all of them. We've talked about it prior. I mean, the top FBI agent who was allegedly having an affair with a top FBI attorney had a lot of anti-Trump text messages back and forth. There have been a lot of attorneys on the Mueller investigation team that have clearly an opinion towards Hillary Clinton and one against Donald Trump, and have even donated to the Hillary Clinton campaign and perhaps even the foundation. We know that another person who was working on the investigation, Russian interference with the investigation, Bruce Orr, found out that he did not disclose that his wife actually worked for Fusion GPS and was involved in the dossier. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So we see what's happening. We see where when you start out with a bad tree, you get bad fruit. I mean, honestly, isn't that what we're really seeing? And we're watching a person who started out with a lot of conflicts of interest have all these people now with conflicts of interest. And you have to ask yourself, wasn't he aware of any of this in the beginning? And I think clearly the answer is he most certainly was, though you can't prove that. And if he wasn't, he should have been aware of who these people were that he was appointing to be on his team. He should have looked into and investigated any conflicts of interest that they may have had. But obviously, he didn't. Not feeling he had a conflict of interest. Maybe that's why he didn't bother to check with them. And so now we end up in a situation where we have, by all intents and purposes, what Tom Fitton of Washington, of the Judicial Watch, has called irredeemably corrupt investigation. An irredeemably corrupt investigation. And still, what do we have? We still have Mueller at the helm. He's continuing to lead the investigation. It appears to be broadening his scope with the blessings of the deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein, who appointed him. someone who has said, there's no reason in the world that I can think of why I should fire this guy. No reason at all. Okay, well, maybe I can give you, with all the ones that I just mentioned, if that's not enough, then perhaps I can give you a new one. It's coming out now that Mueller may have possibly obtained information about the Trump campaign during this investigation. He may have obtained these documents illegally in violation of the Fourth Amendment, and some that, quite frankly, violate the attorney-client privilege. Should we be shocked? I'm not. I've been writing about Mueller from the very beginning. I've been writing about the fact that he needs to be fired. This needs to end. It just keeps going and going. And now we have information. And this information came from one of Trump's attorney, Langhofer, who over the weekend fired off a 7-page letter as to why this information that Mueller got from the president, I don't know who exactly, it's emails back and forth, could be from Donald Trump, could be from the members of his staff, but all the information, Langhofer is saying, you got this illegally. And it also may violate attorney-client privilege. Well, you would think that the left wants justice, right? If something, and I say that sarcastically, if something were gotten illegally, you would say, okay, if this happened to me, I would want you to not be able to use it. It's not fair. If it's not fair for one, it's not fair for the other. Well, of course, the left doesn't think that way. The left thinks about it as it's okay that it's not fair for you, as long as we can go ahead and use it and make it fair for us. So they don't really care. We have somebody who now is Walter Schaub, who was the director of the U.S. Office for Government Ethics under Obama. Okay, so, it's kind of, contradictory in the whole statement I just read about it being the U.S. Office for Government Ethics under Obama. Doesn't go together. But he's worried about the fact that the president may try to fire Robert Mueller. And he says, you know what, if that happens, people are going to be taking to the streets. So that's great. It sounds like he was a great fit for the Obama administration, talking about taking to the streets. Isn't that kind of what the whole movement under Obama was about, and getting people all riled up so everybody would take to the streets? Chaos would ensue. Isn't that exactly what the Obama administration wanted and still wants, as they're part of the deep state? So Mr. Schaub, he said he's already registered for the left-wing group that's planning on Capitol Hill to set out and storm the streets, basically, if Mueller is fired. Now, President Trump has said over and over and over again that he has no intentions of firing Mueller. But see, if they take him for his word on that, then there's no news, right? We don't have Walter Schaub. He doesn't have a job to do. He's not able to go on TV and say, well, but if he fires him, I'm taken to the streets. Even though President Trump has said, we're not gonna fire him. I'm not even sure. Again, I know this argument goes back and forth, and people have argued it both ways. I don't think President Trump has the authority to fire Mueller, even if he wanted to. I think it's for sure Rod Rosenstein, and it may take an act of Congress at this point to fire him if Rosenstein refuses to do that. Now, Rosenstein, he's so braggadocious, if you will, on this whole thing with Mueller. Oh, I've got complete control of this. I have complete oversight. I'm doing a great job. I am wonderful. And Mueller is just walking on water. So Rosenstein has absolutely no intentions of firing Mueller. It doesn't even appear that this new information is something that even bothers him. And to be quite honest, I know it's early, but I'm not hearing anybody speaking out and saying, look, Mueller needs to be gone. Nobody's saying that. Everybody's still hoping that the investigation is going to be over soon. I'm very skeptical about that. But okay, if that's the way you want to play it. I think in looking at all this and the way things are going and what's happened, it may be time for Jeff Sessions to sort of step aside and let somebody else take the helm. Now, as I've said, I support him and the whole ethics thing and what he had to do. I know that he doesn't have an ability right now to do anything with Rod Rosenstein, who's in charge of the Russia interference with the election because Sessions recused himself. So to remove Rosenstein right now would make it look as though Sessions is trying to interfere with the investigation. You know, the same argument they used about when President Trump got rid of Comey, that was somehow supposed to interfere with the investigation. But there's other things that Jeff Sessions isn't doing that needs to be done. We've talked about quite some time now about the bias coming out of the team that Mueller appointed, what I just told you, with information in regards to Comey and how he and possibly that Peter Strzok sort of colluded, if you will, together to protect Hillary Clinton from prosecution by changing the wording on Comey's statement. And that was, again, just allegations. And there's possibility that we need to look at, the Clinton email, the connection to the dossier, what was Hillary Clinton and the DNC and perhaps even the FBI all working together to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. And what about the statements in the text messages from Peter Strzok and speaking about Andrew McCabe, the deputy FBI director, when it sounded like insurance against Trump becoming president? What was that all about? Why aren't we investigating that? And see, this is something that Jeff Sessions could bring an investigation on all of these subjects. Now, he's probably going to say, well, we don't talk about anything of what we're doing in the DOJ. Apparently we don't talk about anything, but we don't talk about investigations that we're doing in the DOJ. And quite frankly, what it does is when he doesn't talk about anything, it makes it look as though he's not doing anything. And we know that he is. He's talking about keeping the streets safe, getting MS-13 off the streets. All of that is important. But when you've got this investigation out there, when you've got potentially biased and illegal things happening in regards to this investigation, when is enough enough? And when do we start looking at other people, like I said, Hillary, the attorneys and the FBI agents and Comey and the emails and on and on and on? When do we start looking at that? When does our side say, okay, we need a special counsel? Oh, that's right. They've already said that. And yet Sessions is just, well, I'm mulling it over. Okay, well, how long does it take? It's been weeks now. And see, the problem with Sessions that I see really is while he does a good job, he does do a good job in what he does. And he is ethical. Again, we need that. But I think the American public needs more at a time like this. And what do I mean by a time like this? Well, we knew it was bad. But I don't think very many of us knew just how deep the swamp runs. And I think it is bottomless. I really do. And under Obama, we had 8 years of an ability of the Obama administration to fill that swamp over and over and over with people that continually hurt this administration and try to block this administration in everything that President Trump does. And I just don't think that Jeff Sessions is bulldog enough let's just put it that way, he's not bulldog enough to take on the challenges of all that really need to be done. And I hate to say that. I don't think it really has anything to do with his age, although I think it may have some things to do with it. However, look at Donald Trump, 71 years old, and he's a bulldog. He really is. So it's not age. It's just personality. It's just the way somebody works. It's just who they are. And the way I see Jeff Sessions is he's mostly in slow gear all the time. It's just a fact. And I think we need somebody who's going to roll up their sleeves, dive in with both feet, and go after these people like a dog after a bone that won't let go. And I don't see that as being Jeff Sessions. I see that as being somebody like Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, who's on, intelligence committees, who's done a great job. I mean, he did a great job under Benghazi going after people. The problem was, for him at that time, there was no teeth in what he did. There's no way that the Obama administration was going to let anything go forward. So there was no teeth. He would have those teeth to go after people under President Trump. However, Trey Gowdy said, I don't want the job. He said that early on. He didn't even apply for the job. His wife wanted him back in South Carolina more often, wanted him home more often, and that's what he said in the very beginning. Now, I don't know if that was true. I don't know if he would change his mind. But we need a Trey Gowdy or somebody just like him. And honestly, right now, I can't think of anybody who would be that driven, who would be that direct and that good as Trey Gowdy. Seriously, who do we have? And no, Chris Christie would not be anybody that would be on my list of somebody that I would want as Attorney General. I can't think of a male or female that would do as good a job as Trey Gowdy would do. And I don't know. Maybe that's... And I know President Trump has said that he's pleased with Sessions. And again, it's not about him doing a lousy job on what he does. It's just about him not doing more jobs at one time than he does and putting it into high gear. That's the problem. But I don't know that President Trump would get rid of him. And that may be, honestly, right now, a good replacement. If the president was thinking about getting rid of him, there may not be anybody to take his place that would be better than he is. We just don't have that individual yet that's tough enough to do this job. But that's what America needs. We need an ethical attorney general that is a bulldog, fearless, fighting as tough as they can be, tough as nails, moving forward and getting things done. Opening up these investigations, appointing special counsel, and if you don't appoint special counsel, then do the investigation yourself. But it needs to be done. And I know the president seems to have been hesitant about opening an investigation about Hillary in the past. But, it's time to get over that. These people know nothing other than to come after us tooth and nails. And when we don't give it back to them in the same regard, then we're seen as weak, and they just ramp it up even more. So not to tell the president how to do his job, not to tell the DOJ how to do their jobs, but I think it's time that we at least consider putting somebody in other than Jeff Sessions, saying, Jeff, you did a great job, thank you so much, but we need you to retire now because we need somebody who can manage several things at one time and just be a rabid bulldog. It also just makes you wonder how many people are going to be left in Congress. I mean, day after day, we hear about more sexual misconduct coming from people in Congress, from people who have thought about going into public service. I don't know if there's going to be anybody left. And supposedly, the rumor has it, there are more new allegations that are coming out this week. So, I don't know. I mean, from people already, people have been wondering, well, when are the women going to get their turn? I mean, I know there's some women who are in Congress or leadership roles that just haven't been outed. Well, it's starting to happen. As I had said before, it was only a matter of time when somebody was going to step forward and start talking about the women who were sexually harassing them or sexual misconduct of some sort. And we have Andrea Ramsey, a Democratic candidate for Congress from Kansas City. Now, she says she's going to drop out of the race because as she was talking about getting into the race, they were asking her about accusations from a 2005 lawsuit in which she supposedly sexually harassed and retaliated against a male subordinate who said he had rejected her advances. So she's gone, I guess she just couldn't keep her thoughts and her hands to herself, sounds like, from the accusation and the lawsuit. And multiple sources were saying that the man reached a settlement with Lab 1, the company where Ramsey was executive vice president of human resources. I mean, come on, if you can't go to human resources and feel safe, what do you do? And she's the VP over human resources? Oh, my gosh. She said court documents show that the man, Gary Funkhauser, and Lab 1 agreed to dismiss the case permanently after mediation in 2006. So she's gone. Another one bites the dust. Adios. And this time again, a female that somebody has said, yep, she's the one that did it. And then we have another, this is a male this time, Representative Reuben Kihuen, Kihuen. Don't know how to pronounce his name, sorry. I don't really try to keep up with too many of the Democrats' pronunciation of their names. I know that's bad of me. But he announced, he's a Democrat from Nevada. He announced Saturday he's not going to seek re-election after multiple women came forward accusing him of sexual impropriety, according to the Washington Examiner. Now, he again repeated his denial of the allegations and said, trying to go forward with the re-election, it's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. So I don't know how many more congressmen and women may fall from grace. I know there are people already who are saying, Al Franken, why don't you just reverse your decision? We want you back. You come on back. We'll welcome you with open arms. And people that you wouldn't think would do that. Democrats, I think Manchin is one who asked him to come back, and Leahy told him in private, supposedly, gosh, I'm sorry that I asked you to resign. I regret doing that. So why the regret now? Why do they want him to come back? Well, there's only one reason, and that is Roy Moore didn't get elected like they thought he was going to get elected. And so you have to throw one of your own under the bus because they were going to go after Roy Moore. So now that didn't happen, it's like, well, maybe what Franken did is not so bad. Really? I mean, it's not as bad as it could be. So maybe he should come back. We should do due process, which will end up in the ethics committee, which means he'll get a little slap on the wrist, and it all will be okay. So we'll have to wait and see if Franken, the one with the photo of his hands groping a sleeping woman's breast through her flat jacket. I've been told, let's make sure that you say that, through a jacket, so it didn't actually touch her breasts. Okay, no, but all right. So we'll see what happens there. And then we have, I think, for me, this made my Monday morning. It really, really did. We have allegations against that wonderful person that everybody knows, Linda Sarsour. You remember her. She's the woman that kind of led that whole pink kitty cat hat thing with the Women's March. She's born in the United States, claims to be Palestinian, and she is accused of enabling sexual assault and harassment in the workplace. I'm telling you, that made my Monday morning. Here is a woman who does nothing but go after decent human beings. And now she's getting called out. A woman is accusing her of basically saying that she went to Sarsour about a man who was groping and touching her without her consent. And this was a time, allegedly, when Sarsour was the executive director of the Arab American Association. This is coming out from the Daily Caller. This woman alleges she went to Sarsour, told her about all of it, and what happened? Sarsour supposedly attacked her for even bringing up the allegations, said that she would often body shame her because the accused was a good Muslim who was always at the mosque. The woman said, again, it was an unsafe and abusive environment. And she claims that Sarsour threatened legal action and professional damage if she went public with her sexual assault claims. Well, she's gone public. And we'll just have to see if CARE is going to care about Linda Sarsour or if they're just going to let her fly out there in the wind by herself. My gut tells me they're going to come to her rescue and not too much is going to be made out of this. Now, see, if it were a male, in general, I think there would be issues and that person would be asked to step down. But seeing as how it's Sarsour and a Muslim woman, a 2-for-1, she's probably going to get a smack on the wrist. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I really don't see too much coming out of this. And that woman, that poor woman who came forward, is probably going to get the worst end of the deal. Because we all know sometimes in the system it's not fairly apportioned out. That's the way it goes. Shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it goes. We also have allegations coming out, still coming out of Hollywood, and still coming out with people who are on TV. We have a new allegation about Chris Matthews. You remember Chris Matthews from Hardball. Well, it's said that NBC paid money to a female staffer in 1999 who accused him of sexual harassment. Now, the network kept quiet about it and kept quiet about whether or not there were other women who may be coming forward. The Daily Caller first reported on the payment, saying that he had paid a woman $40,000. And this woman was an assistant producer who worked on his Hardball show. So he'd given her $40,000 as sort of a settlement. Now, an MSNBC spokesperson said that Matthews made inappropriate jokes and comments about the woman in front of others, that the matter was reviewed and it was determined that the comments were inappropriate and made in poor taste, but were never meant as propositions. Okay, so probably Chris, unlike others, it just may just go away. And again, I haven't heard a peep, not a peep, on Monday. This would have been headline news if it were somebody from Fox News. But we hear nothing now. And then somebody may have sort of stepped into a situation that they are regretting now. Seems that Matt Damon, Democrat actor, has said something to the order of, and he didn't quite say it this way, I'm just going to put my little slant on it, right? Come on, ladies. There's a difference between somebody who's groping your butt and somebody like Harvey Weinstein, who's been accused of multiple acts, egregious acts. And shouldn't we just give men a break who have done minor things? And, maybe minor things 30 to 40 years ago, like Roy Moore was accused of. Well, this may not surprise you, but Matt Damon and what he said wasn't well received by the left. They're like, come on, Matt. You've never been groped. You've never been sexually assaulted. How dare you even have an opinion on the subject? Now, they didn't quite say it like that. Again, this is the way I see it. And so I don't know where Matt goes from here. Maybe he should just slink back into wherever he came from because, again, not well received by the left. And they're not apt to forget what he said. The left. They don't forget things like that. And in fact, we've got 24 top entertainment executives now. They've come together to form a fund for the Commission on Sexual Harassment and Advancing Equality in the Workplace. Say that 3 times fast. And what they want to do is that, they need a chairperson to head this commission. And what better person than Anita Hill from the Clarence Thomas fame? The one who came forward and talked about a soda and other things about what Clarence Thomas supposedly did. It didn't get her any farther than just talking about it. And her allegations were dismissed, and Clarence Thomas sits today on the U.S. Supreme Court. But Anita Hill is who apparently they think is going to do the best job. And then we have more action that's going to be taken on sexual harassment. And that is the women of the Golden Globes. They're all going to be dressing in black. To I don't know, to just kind of be there with the victims and let them know, we hear you, we feel you, we understand, and we're sorry that this is happening to you. Now, Meryl Streep going to be wearing black. And it's so ironic because isn't one of her best friends, Harvey Weinstein, hasn't she gotten up and applauded him before? And you can't tell me, for as long as Meryl Streep and some of these other people have been in Hollywood, that they didn't know anything that was going on. Not one single thing. All this time, didn't know anything was happening to any of the women in Hollywood. But now they're coming out in 2017. Okay, we stand with you and we're going to wear black because of our grief and our sadness for what happened to you. Save it. Again, you can't tell me that people like Meryl Streep and other people didn't have some clue as to what was going on, or that they themselves were propositioned and they just kept quiet about it. You can't tell me that. And please, don't be a hypocrite now and come out wearing your black as if you really care. I'm not buying it. Hopefully, the majority of the American public won't buy it. I know people on the left will buy it, and they'll all gang together, and it'll be just one big celebration against men, right? Because that's where we're headed with this. Again, it's so shameful in all of this that the real victims, the ones who have really been victimized, are kind of being pushed to the back, will be lost in the shuffle, and they're not going to receive their justice that's due them because of people like, the women of the Golden Globes, the women of Hollywood. And some of those women are victims. Don't get me wrong. I know that. But people like Meryl Streep and others who I'm just saying, great possibility that they stayed quiet. Save it. We don't need your BS at this point. Now, in some other news that's going on, I don't know if you've heard, there's been sexual misconduct allegations against, I believe it's Jerry Richardson. Don't know his first name, have to be honest with you. He owns the Carolina Panthers. But rumors are that he would ask people on a certain day, I guess, it was a jeans day, and everybody was supposed to wear their blue jeans, and he would watch women walk and tell them, let's see how you walk in those jeans. It just a lot of sexual harassment allegations. Nothing good, okay? And also a racial slur at a employee at one point. And I believe there have been multiple payments that were made in settling some of these claims, but there's been a decision made that he should go ahead and sell the Carolina Panthers because it's just not good. It's not looking good. It's not going to be good for football. It's not going to be good for the Panthers. Well, now what do we have? We have somebody who's going to step up and save the day. That's right. We're going to have Sean P. Diddy Combs, who is going to save the day by buying the Carolina Panthers. At least he's hoping to. And, that wouldn't be so bad. I mean, he's got the money. Maybe he could do something with the Panthers. Might be a good fit, except for one thing. You see, he really just wants to buy it because he wants to give Colin Kaepernick a job. Yeah, see, he wants to have him come on board as a quarterback, and he and the current quarterback can vie for who's going to get first place. Kaepernick, really, you want to bring on Colin Kaepernick. See, and honestly, that's probably the only way that Kaepernick is going to get a job. I mean, he's so bad, nobody wants him anywhere. He causes trouble, nobody wants him anywhere. And he's Colin Kaepernick, nobody wants him anywhere. Because I think he feels now that name is synonymous with social justice. And people just want him to play football. But he's not that great at football. He's okay. But he's not going to just play football. He's going to make a point out of every game that he can play in to bring his message across, whether you want to hear it or not. So I'm hoping that somebody else steps up and offers more money than P. Diddy so that we won't have to see Colin Kaepernick. And quite honestly, I'm not going to see him anyway because I don't watch the NFL. When Colin took a knee, that's when I stopped watching the NFL. And I'm not sure that I would go back to watch the NFL again because their true colors came out in who they really are and who they really support. And it's not the American public that I can see. Also I want to talk to you a little bit about the UN. Egypt had asked them to have a vote today in regards to, let's just say, making President Trump take back what he said. The one where he said Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Well, a lot of people, Palestinians, they're not liking that so much, as you might have guessed. Been a lot of protests and people have been killed and injured. And so they just wanted it all to stop. So they wanted a vote taken in the United Nations Security Council to make that determination, reject what President Trump said, and we could all go on our merry way. Well, as you might have expected, the United States said, go pound sand. We are acknowledging that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. And I say good for them. So it doesn't matter, what the Palestinians want, how much they're going to cry about this, and they are. They want to make, I think they've already declared it, East Jerusalem is going to be what they consider the capital of, and that's fine. You can say whatever you want to say. It's not really going to matter. Go ahead and say it. And that's exactly what they did. And there are reports coming out. Right now they're kind of just rumors, but and this is the AP, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt anymore that you hear in the public, especially from the left-wing media, that a senior Trump administration official outlined their view on Friday that Jerusalem's western wall would ultimately be declared a part of Israel. and in what they are describing in another declaration, sure to inflame passions among Palestinians and others in the Middle East. That will be great. You know, let's get it and call it what it is. It's Jerusalem's Western Wall and needs to be a part of Israel. I say good. If that happens, great. And the Palestinians, I guess, and the other people in the Middle East will just have to be upset. You know, when are we ever going to stop giving money to the UN? When are we going to tell them to get out of New York, stay out of our business, and move it along someplace else? I wish we would do that sooner than later. It would be great. You know, we pay them money. Why do we do this? Why do we keep paying people money? You know, we've got our own issues. We have issues coming up in regards to the Dreamers as well, where we're talking about a lot of money. A report's coming out that if the Dreamers remain in the United States, it'll be about 2 million illegal immigrants, Dreamers, that would remain in the United States. They would cost the taxpayers $25.9 billion over the next 10 years. That's a lot of money. They estimate that 3.25 million illegal aliens would be eligible for the DREAM Act. However, the report estimates that only 2 million would apply, and 1.6 million of whom would earn legal status over the next 10 years. The remaining 1 million would become citizens with that same time period, which would allow them to sponsor relatives. So we've got major issues coming up when we're discussing the Dreamers Act and DACA. We really, really do. And I've heard rumors that Paul Ryan is going to try and sneak something in with that. We need to be able to tell Paul Ryan that he can take his Dreamers Act and we're not accepting it. That we don't want to be spending money like that. That we don't want to be allowing this to go forward. I mean, we have got to continue to speak up about things where we see an injustice. And I know people got so excited last week because they thought Paul Ryan was going to retire, and it turned out it was just fake news again. And the official word from the White House after having a conversation with Ryan was, it's just fake news. And it looks as though, from all intents and purposes, that the president really likes Paul Ryan and was hoping that it was fake news because he wanted him to stay. I really wish that weren't true. I really hope that Paul Ryan gets defeated and somebody like Paul Nealon or someone else takes his place. That would be great. I don't foresee that necessarily unless a lot of money is dumped in on it. And knowing that the president kind of supports Paul Ryan, I think there might be an issue there. So plan on seeing him around, unfortunately. Plan on having to stand up and say no when it comes to what amnesty, if they try to give that to DACA, to the Dreamers. I'm telling you, the swamp is bottomless. And it just keeps going. And every turn we have something like this that crops up, something new that we have to try to fight. But I guess that's really what we're going to be looking at for the foreseeable future. Now, this is an interesting story, and I have to tell you because I just think it's so funny. I mean, it really is. It's something that somebody on the left did that we weren't aware of. Harry Reid. Remember that name? Harry Reid. I know you're probably like me and you're wishing you'd never heard that name, but the Defense Department, this came out from the New York Times and Politico, okay? So just take it for what it's worth. The Defense Department secretly set up a program 10 years ago to investigate unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, at the urging of then Democratic Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. The New York Times and Politico, again, published the stories on Saturday, revealing the existence of the Pentagon's now defunct Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. See, the left's thinking, they're not, they're afraid of UFOs and the threat from there. But the threat from ISIS, the threat from illegal immigrations in our country who may be here committing crimes, the ones that are here who have killed people, MS-13. No, that's not a problem. That's not a problem at all. Those are conspiracy theories. But the UFOs, now those are the real problems. For the left, UFOs present the biggest problem that they know of. So the New York Times, I guess they got their dates wrong in the two publications. The New York Times said the UFO program began in 2007, but Politico reported that it began in 2009. So according to the reports, Reid, a Nevada Democrat, helped steer the money under the program to a donor's aerospace research company. So there you go. So Harry has a donor, right, who has an aerospace research company. So what do you do? What do you do when you have a donor that's giving you some money for your campaign? Well, you repay them by opening up, according to the New York Times and Politico, a whole program to investigate UFOs. A program, of course, that was running under the time of the Obama administration. But that's okay. Obama didn't bother him whatsoever. He didn't say one time, "Hey, Harry, what's this all about here? Was this a donor friend of yours that you were just making this bogus program? Or is this something that you really feel that we need to have?" Which one is it, Harry? I think we all probably pretty much know it was a little of both. Knowing Harry, I think he probably would have thought that the UFOs were more dangerous than anything else threatening the United States. But probably, when it all comes down to it, probably more had to do with the fact that this donor allegedly gave him all this money for his campaign, and this was just kind of a repaying of the donor. I'm telling you, the left, it never ends with the left. It's always crazy. Whatever you think is the craziest thing you've ever heard, it's usually coming from the left. And if this program, if somebody on the Republican side started a program like this, you can rest assured that it would make national news every day for the next week. And the left talking about how bogus this was and what a complete waste of money it was. But when the left does it, not a peep. Did you ever hear about this program? No, you didn't. And Politico and the New York Times, they probably knew about this program way back there in 2007, 2009, and said nothing about it because why? Well, they didn't want to embarrass Harry Reid. They didn't want to make him look like the schmuck he looks like when you find this stuff out. No, we have to protect the Democratic majority leader at the time. Got to protect him. Can't make him look bad. Oh, no. Can't make the president look bad either. Not when it's Obama. Now it's no problem. They do it every single day. But again, the left comes up with the craziest things. Just like, I don't know, who would be the craziest one on the left that I can think of off the top of my head? Well, that would be Governor Jerry Brown. Governor Jerry Brown, as you know, is a climate change freak. Everything is caused by climate change. Everything. And I mean everything. And I think he's over in Paris, at least he was a couple days ago, back over in Paris trying to work out that whole climate change thing again. Wants to bring all that climate change talk to California and continue to have Californians pay for all that climate change talk. But he came out recently. Here's Jerry. Jerry's got so much time on his hands. And he came out recently and he said, you know what caused these fires here in California? The one in Los Angeles. We've had so many fires. I mean, it's been really bad. From San Diego, Los Angeles County, Ventura, now it's gone into Santa Barbara County. one from Ventura into Santa Barbara, same fire. One that started in Los Angeles, separate, of course, from the other San Diego and the Ventura, Santa Barbara fires. But Jerry immediately comes out about the Los Angeles fire and says, yep, climate change, that's what it is, it's climate change, boy. Climate change is so responsible for all these fires. Well, see, the allegations have it a little bit different, Jerry. The allegations say that it was an illegal immigrant encampment, that they were cooking and they started a fire. Because you can't cook without fire, and in California, most of these illegal immigrant encampments you can't get rid of, even if they're on your own private property. You'll be in trouble for doing so. And the police rarely, if ever, go by and clear these encampments out. Because why? Because the ACLU will come along and say, what are you doing? Why are you taking the homes away from these illegal immigrants? And then we find out the huge fire that I was talking to you about in Ventura that went into Santa Barbara may be one of the largest fires in the whole state. And that one has been named the Thomas Fire. Killed 2 people so far, destroyed more than 1,000 structures. And Jerry would tell you it's all because of climate change. That's the only reason we have that fire. Well, a group of California residents see it a different way. They recently filed a lawsuit against Southern California Edison, claiming that the utility company is to blame for the deadly Thomas fires. The lawsuit was filed by a Ventura County attorney on behalf of residents and business owners in that county, according to the NPR. The lawsuit contends in part that the Southern California Edison crews working above a campground near the town of Santa Paula are the likely cause of the fires. Now, I know that's going to be hard for Jerry to take because it just ends his whole climate change BS. The suit also alleges that water hydrants operated by the city of Ventura and the municipal water district there didn't work properly. So, I don't know, Jerry. I don't know how water hydrants not working, fires that are started probably, according to the lawsuit, by a utility company, and how an illegal alien encampment cooking their food, how that has anything to do with climate change. Now, Jerry would say, well, it's obvious, Susan, why it has something to do with climate change. See, because if these immigrants were allowed legally to be here, they wouldn't need to be out there starting a fire. And if everything was great according to the plan in California about climate change, we wouldn't even allow you to have matches to start a fire because everybody knows that fire is bad for the climate. I mean, maybe they should be freezing someplace with the rest of the citizens of California, and that would make Jerry happy because there would be no fire. And if there weren't a utility company, if there were no need for a utility company, like, why do you need a utility company? Why do you need electricity? Really? Why do you need electricity? So you can stay warm in your house? So you can work on the internet? Why do you need a utility company? See, that would be Jerry's way of saving the environment. Just get rid of the utility company, get rid of the matches, and then you won't have a problem with climate change. Climate change would be wonderful then, because your little carbon footprint would be next to nothing. And all I can say is, thank God, and I mean that literally, thank God, that this is Jerry Brown's last term in California. And I'm praying for a miracle, but I'm praying for a Republican to take his place. Probably not going to happen, but you know what? Miracles do happen. We see them every day. So just keep praying for us in California. We're not all bad. We're not all on the left. A lot of us don't like what we see, but we're having a really hard time stopping it because everybody in the state seems to be, in leadership role at least, seems to be a Democrat. And they don't even allow the Republicans to bring up bills. Nobody cares to hear from a Republican. Sad state of affairs in California, I know. But I want to thank you so much for being here. So appreciate your support and your time. Thank you for allowing me to come into your home. And until next week, God bless you. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you again really soon. God bless.